This is the direct examination of Major Patrick Cicero from the transcripts of the Richard Allen hearing. Attorney James Luttrell, call Major Pat Cicero. Witness is sworn in. Direct examination of Major Patrick Cicero. Questions by Mr. Luttrell. Question: would you state your name, sir? Answer: my name is Patrick G. Cicero, Cicero. Question: and where are you employed? Answer: I'm employed with the LaPorte County Sheriff's Office. Question: how long have you been there? Answer: I've been there for a little over 24 years, sir. Question: what's your rank? Answer: current rank is a major, and I'm with the administration. Question: and have you in your career with the LaPorte County Sheriff's Department worked investigations? Answer: yes. Prior to being promoted to the rank of major, I was a detective in our bureau as a chief of detectives for over 20 years. Question: you were the chief of detectives for the LaPorte County Department? Answer: yes, sir. Question: and do you have any specialized areas in crime scene investigation? Answer: yes. I specialize in blood stain pattern analysis, crime scene reconstruction, forensic entomology for the practitioner, and as far as collections and investigative approach, as well as just over crime scene investigation, sir. Question: do you have any certifications in that field? Answer: yes, I am certified in the state of Indiana as a crime scene investigator. I'm also on the certification board for the state of Indiana, setting standards and making sure that investigators are certified throughout the state. Question: and therefore, I assume you've been to specialized schools in blood stain pattern analysis. Answer: yes. Over my 20 years in the Detective Bureau, I attended numerous courses, basic, advanced courses in crime scene reconstruction, where blood stain patterns and analysis is incorporated with that, individual courses on topics in blood stain pattern analysis as well. Question: and are those courses that require you to pass tests and to show your proficiency? Answer: yes. Question: they're not just attending a conference. Answer: no, but I have attended conferences as well. Question: do you do training? Do you teach blood stain pattern analysis and crime scene reconstruction training? Answer: yes, I teach at the Indiana Law Enforcement Academy for crime scene investigators. I've taught at Rensselaer College as the basic and advanced courses. I'm slated to teach at the National Forensic Academy. I teach at Forensic Academy already for the last 18 years in forensic entomology, but I'm slated to this October to go back for blood stain pattern analysis as well. Question: what is the academy that you're talking about? Answer: the National Forensic Academy is in Oak Ridge, Tennessee. It's through the University of Tennessee. It's a 10-week investigative course at the university, and we teach investigators throughout the country. Question: how long have you been involved in blood stain pattern analysis investigation? Answer: approximately 20 years, sir. Question: you've testified as an expert before in that area? Answer: yes, I believe this would be the 31st or 32nd time. Question: only in LaPorte? Answer: no. Question: aside from today? Answer: no, sir. I testified in Lawrence County. I've testified in Lake, Porter counties. I believe testified in Jasper County as well. Question: it's late and we're all a little tired, but would you give us a brief explanation of what blood stain pattern interpretation is? Answer: sure. Blood stain pattern analysis is a field of study which relies on the fact that blood is a fluid, and as such, it adheres to our physical laws. Therefore, it is repeatable. Blood stains are repeatable. They're testable. They're measurable. An analysis examines the blood stains within a pattern, specifically looking at the size, shape, the location in the scene, the distribution, the volume of blood. Ultimately, the goal is to determine the origins that gave rise to the blood stains. Question: were you asked to assist in the prosecution of the murder of Abby Williams and Liberty German? Answer: yes, I was, sir. Question: and when were you asked? Answer: February 12th of 2024. Question. And you and I first had a conversation about that time. Is that correct? Answer. Round about that time, I believe so, sir. Question. What materials did you examine to prepare to give an opinion and to provide analysis on bloodstain pattern at the crime scene? Answer. I received files, electronic files, of many individual files of photographs from, I believe, 5 or 6 different officers, investigators. I received lab reports. I received the post-mortem exam reports, diagrams associated with the case. Question. Showing you 8 photographs, I'm going to ask if you recognize these and if you would be photographs, if they would be photographs that you relied upon in your examination. There for the record, it's exhibits 30 through 37. Answer. Yes, sir, I recognize these photographs. Question. And were these photographs provided to you when you requested a number of photographs in this case? Answer. Yes. Question. Did you receive a lot more than these 8 photographs? Answer. Yes, sir, many files of photographs. Question. And you said you reviewed both crime scene photographs as well as photographs of the autopsies? Answer. Yes. Question. And the various reports related to the crime scene and the autopsies, is that correct? Answer. That is correct, sir. Mr. Luttrell, only asking that they be kept under seal, but under that condition, I would ask for that to be 30 through 37 be admitted into evidence. States Exhibit 30 through 37 offered. Attorney Jennifer Auger, no objection. The court, all right, without objection, 30 through 37 are admitted and will be marked as confidential and sealed. Mr. Luttrell, to assist the court, inaudible. The court, okay? Question. These 2 don't have stickers on them, but they have on them handwritten numbers that correspond with the court's answer. Yes, sir. Question. Sticker numbers, so I apologize if you have to scour to find these numbers. Answer. Yes, sir. Question. Did you actually go to the scene as well? Your answer. I did. Question. And were you accompanied by retired FBI agent Rich Davies? Answer. Yes. Question. And did the 2 of you, were you given time there to review and see the scene yourself? Answer. Yes, I was, sir. Question. And was that helpful to you in understanding the photographs and understanding the reports that you had evaluated? Answer. Yes, it was. Question. And did you physically examine items of evidence? Answer. Yes, I examined clothing. Question. Were these the clothing that were, what clothing did you examine? Answer. The clothing I examined was the clothing that was discovered with Abby Williams. Question. I want to have you describe, and will not do it in terrific detail, but I want you to describe the blood that was documented at the crime scene as you saw it on the photographs, beginning with the blood on the tree, and as you want to look at and reflect and refer to the photographs, if you would state the number for the record as to what. Answer. Sure. Question. If you want to begin by what is Exhibit 30 and what does that show us? Answer. Exhibit 30 is kind of an overall mid-range photograph of the tree as well as the descendants that are in the background. In the foreground, near the bottom of the photograph, there is a blood stain on the ground that I observed and categorized as an accumulation of blood that would be consistent with the pooling. It would be very noticeable if, the surface was not a forested floor, but it was large enough and it appeared voluminous enough that it would be consistent with the pool of blood stains. Question. And so when we refer later in the photographs to a blood on a tree, that tree is pictured in Exhibit 30? It is, sir. Question. It's in the foreground? Answer. Yes, sir. Question. Okay. What does 31 show us? Answer. 31 shows us a more close-up photograph of the floor, the forest floor, leaf litter with blood stains on them. Question. And that's also 31. Is it a close-up of what's pictured in the portion of 30 of Exhibit 30? Answer. It's not as readily, easily viewed in 30, but I know where the general location is on the photograph. It's easily viewed on a computer due to printing quality, but it's associated with the areas that I observed in front of the tree, almost like I believe it was like a little bit northeast of the tree. Question. X. Answer. Northeast. Question. Okay, Exhibit 32. What does that show us? Answer. This is another photograph of the tree, a different angle that the photographer took. You can see the descendants in the background. It is of the tree, more on the north side of the tree, and showing bloodstains upon the tree. And the next is 33, I believe, is the question. Answer. Yes, sir. This would be, again, the tree, a more close shot of the tree. It's bloodstains, I believe, on the more northern part of the tree, more of the same. Question. And what is the next 35? Answer. This is the tree again with the scale. I'm sorry, this is 34. Question. I'm sorry, 34? Answer. It's a picture of the tree with the scale. It's scaling out of the bloodstain, specifically the bloodstain in the center, which I had described as an upside-down L shape. Question. Did you see references in the examination or in reviewing reports of a tree noted as with a letter F? Answer. I did, sir. Question. See any reference to that in the materials you reviewed? Answer. Yes, sir. Question. And we'll get to why in a moment, but does that appear to you to be a symbol F on the tree? Answer. No, it appears like an upside down L to me. Question. In terms of its configuration? Answer. Yes. Question. Okay. What's the next photograph? What number is it and which? Answer. That would be photograph 35. This would be the photograph of the F upside down L without the scale. But this time it's the discoloration of the stain was due to an additive or a chemical agent called crystal violet. Question. Have you used that chemical yourself? Answer. Many times. Question. And what is the purpose of using that chemical? Answer. It's to enhance the visualization of bloodstains. The actual chemical will basically pigment or change the color for more easy viewing. Question. And is it your understanding that the crime scene officers returned in the daylight a following day and applied those chemicals to the tree and took the photograph at that time? Answer. Yes, it's my understanding. Question. Did that help you or help you to appreciate and more fully understand the configuration of the bloodstain pattern on the tree? Answer. It did. And I can understand why individuals would say that this looks like an F. What's missing to make an F would be the lower horizontal bar to make it an F. There's not one there. So that's why I called it an upside down L. Had you noted on the numerous photographs that you reviewed of the crime scene and perhaps even your trip there yourself this spring, but did you note any reddish tint or pinkish tint to the bark on that tree at certain locations? Answer. Yes, I did. Question. In some of the crime scene photographs, does that in effect provide a visual distortion of what is on the tree? Answer. Yes, it could. Question. What's the next photograph after the chemical applied photograph? Answer. It would be photograph number 36. Question. What does 36 show us? Answer. It shows the descendants. I believe the photographer is facing the camera towards the north, so the descendants are now in a different location. On the left side of the photograph, there's a large accumulation of blood, which would be consistent with a pooling. Question. And did we get to the end? Is there a 37? Answer. 37's the last one. Question. I'm sorry. Answer. I'm on 36. Question. Okay. Go to 37 then. Answer. Yes, sir. Question. What is that? Answer. This is like a topographical type of photograph. I believe the investigators were on a ladder of some type, and you can clearly see again the discoloration which would be to the west of the descendants, especially west of Abby Williams, and again the descendants laying supine on the floor, forest floor. Question. Major Cicero, I'd like you to give some details about the blood stain that you saw on the tree. Would you describe its approximate size and distribution of the blood as you saw it? Answer. Yes, sir. On the northeast part of the tree, where the symbol again I had described as an upside down L, we'll focus on that area. The overall pattern was, I believe, like 3.4 by 7 inches approximately. The pattern consisted of several different blood stain patterns, not trace, but transfer blood stains. I observed approximately 6 individual splatters and then more on the upper left portion of the area of the pattern. Again, transfer stains to the left of the upside down L, of course, and the L all consistent with transfer. And what do you mean by transfer is the question. Answer. Transfer is the definition of the terminology, is a blood object that comes in contact with another object and transferring the blood over. Question. And I believe the court is well aware of some of these terms, but would you distinguish for us what you mean by spatter versus the other transfer that you saw? Answer. Spatter consists of individual droplets of blood that had energy was applied to blood to break it up, and then the target surface being the tree had impacted with the tree, and that is spatter. Usually spatter is in the realm of 1 to 4 millimeters in size. In this case, the sizes were 1 to 3, if I remember correctly, approximately 1 to 3 millimeters in size. Also, one other additional pattern that's referred to as a flow was also observed in the vertical portion of the L, the upside down L, whereas there was a voluminous amount of blood to create flow from gravity that was after the transfer was made. Question. There was blood at the base of the tree or near the base of the tree? Answer. Yes, in my analysis, I defined or identified 3 areas of blood stains. Of course, I just described the one on the northeast portion of the tree. One more north, or basically to the right, approximately 4 feet from the base of the tree, I observed more transfer stains. As a matter of fact, those transfer stains, a couple of areas of the transfer stains were quite voluminous. You can see with the darker red, darker brown application when it dried. Directly below those stains was another series of transfer stains approximately 2 feet, a little more than 2 feet from the base of the tree as well. Question. Was there a section on the ground disturbed from the tree where there was a large pool of blood that was documented by the photographs? Answer. Yes, the large pool or pooling accumulation of blood was more to the south of the tree, and I believe maybe a few feet to the west of Abby Williams' foot. Question. Could you point to that area, the pooling, for the court and identify which photograph we're looking at? Answer. In Exhibit 36, the pooling, Your Honor, would be right here, it indicates. In Exhibit 37, Your Honor, the pooling would be right here, indicates. Question. In between the blood at near the base of the tree and the pooling, was there also documented blood in between those 2 points? Answer. Yes, there was 2 other areas, according to the reports and the diagram, where there are 2 smaller areas of they'd be when I say very small, I'd say just smaller than the large one observed in 36 and 37. That could be considered accumulation. It lacked drips and other descriptives that we use for blood. And when we look at the blood and provide with the definition, but these areas again were much smaller, and depending upon the surface, the soil, and the leaf litter, if there was a tile floor, a smooth, non-porous, it would be large enough that it would be a smaller pooling. Question. Now let's go to your analysis of blood on the body of Libby German. Answer. Okay. I want to interrupt the transcript reading at this point to insert a trigger warning. The information that you're about to hear is very disturbing and very heartbreaking. And I'm going to try to present it with respect for the girls and for their families and for everyone. And I pray that you will read it and accept it with the same respect. Question. Did you study those photographs and read the descriptions and reporting, but did you yourself study those photographs of her body? Question. Yes. Question. And you had numerous dozens of photographs of that? Answer. I did, yes. Question. Would you give just a brief overall description of where? Well, let me approach it this way. Beginning at You examined the lab reports that were submitted in this case as well. Is that right? Answer: I did. Question: specifically DNA? Answer: yes, sir. Question: and what did you find in terms of the scene at the tree, the base of the tree, the smaller amount away from that base, and then the larger pool? Whose blood was identified with those portions? Answer: all the blood, according to the DNA reports, originated from Libby German. And the only blood identified as Abby Williams' blood was right there, either on her body or very adjacent to it. Answer: yes. Question: would you describe for the court what you can discern about the movement of Libby German's body from the tree to where she was found? Answer: yes. So observing the small accumulations that would indicate that Libby German was mobile at the time the bloodshed occurred. Likewise, blood stains consistent with the transfer was observed on the bottom of her foot, indicating that she was standing at some point. So all the blood on the tree, the blood that's to the northeast of the tree, the areas, again smaller areas, 2 areas noted by the investigators, and the large pooling, all Libby German's blood. Likewise, the blood, Libby German's body was dragged through the larger accumulation, which was noted by the pictures. You can see blood from the accumulation to where her final location is, but also the transfers of blood to her, the back of her leg, and her calf. Question: in examining the photographs of the condition of Libby German's body, are you convinced she was at some point dragged through, pulled through the pool of blood to the final resting point near the tree where she's photographed? Answer: yes. Question: and her left arm is upraised? Answer: yes. Question: and the position of the left arm, is that consistent with someone pulling her body from the area where the pooling was, through the pool to the point next to the tree? Answer: yes, it's consistent. Question: I want to talk for a little bit about the blood on Abby Williams' body. First, before we leave Libby German, is it your belief that Libby German was mobile while moving after she received at least her first initial injury? Answer: yes. Question: and you say that because of what? Answer: again, the small accumulation of blood that were observed at different locations within the immediate scene would indicate that she is in those positions bleeding for it to get onto the ground and accumulate in that fashion. Question: it is also apparent that she was at least sitting in a sitting position at some point. Answer: based upon the blood stains that were observed on her right thigh, there is what is referred to as projected pattern observed on the thigh, and a projected pattern is it's basically blood stains or blood under pressure that is being ejected out of the injury, in this case being her neck, which coincides with what I observed on the leg. The stains ejected onto her leg and subsequently flow patterns were made flowing to the inner thigh of the leg. Question: and that evidence that itself confirms to you that she was sitting at some point with her head above her thigh? Answer: yes. In order for the projection to be there, the target surface has to be present, and the most logical way for that to happen would be that the injury itself would have had to have been over the thigh. We can tell this is mostly because of the flow patterns. The flow patterns went straight down the leg, so the best explanation for that particular pattern would be that she was most likely seated at the time. Question: let's talk about Abby Williams for a moment. What evidence do you believe that she was not moving upon receiving her wound? Does she not move upon receiving that wound at all? Answer: she was in the general location the entire time. I mean, there may have been some movement, but generally it's right where she was found, where she comes to her fatal injury. Question: what does the blood evidence on her body tell you? Answer: the blood stain on her body observed flow patterns on Abby Williams' face which were consistent with her final resting, meaning that either her head was turned to the side at one point, maybe her body was turned at one point. The stains were limited really to the back, and the clothing were saturated saturation occurred. And saturation is where blood accumulates and soaks into an absorbent material, carpeting, clothing, and whatnot. The saturation, the sweatshirt was so saturated in blood, also went onto the forest floor, trickled to the right of her, as well, where a pooling of accumulation occurred as well. Question. So the most movement of her upper torso or a head where from maybe, let me ask it this way. The only movement from her body that you could discern from the blood was that would have been a movement of her head from one side to another. Answer. Potentially yes. Maybe upper body was lifted up at one point to create the flows that went over her chin, because our bodies can articulate so much. I can't, say exactly what occurred, but again, blood is a fluid. Fluids will flow towards the least resistance, and based upon the flow patterns upon her face and chin, it was consistent with some movement. Question. Libby German had a significant amount of blood on her, both hands, correct? Answer, yes. Question. Given how many violent crime scenes, let me put it this way, how many death scenes have you been to in an investigative capacity? Answer. Hundreds, sir. I don't know. It's been 20 plus years. I've been an officer for 28 years, and I've been to many death scenes. Question. Given the wounds to her neck, does it seem likely that she had a significant amount of blood on both hands? Answer. Absolutely, especially the injuries and the internal portion, being that both carotid arteries and the jugular vein were talking about Libby German, correct? Question. Yes. Answer. The both carotid arteries and the jugular vein were compromised. There would be massive blood loss as a result of that. Question. What about the hands? Have you learned in your investigation about injuries and to the neck and hands? Answer. Yeah, I believe it's a natural reaction, and you're going to be putting your hands in that blood, touching portions of your body that is now being blood-soaked as well. The fact that we know that Libby German was mobile, blood is flowing down her shoulders, her neck, it would be very logical that she's touching those areas as well. And she had a voluminous amount of blood on her arms and her hands as well. So that would coincide with that. Question. Abby Williams did not, did she? Answer. Abby Williams did not have any blood on her hands, nor did she have any blood on the sleeves of the sweatshirt, the dark-colored sweatshirt she was wearing. Question. In terms of, there's been some testimonies from documentation in this case referencing whether Abby Williams was redressed after receiving injuries. Can you tell the court what your opinion is about whether or not, in terms of clothing she was wearing when found, a large dark sweatshirt, a tank top, the gray sports bra, the black bra, were those items on her at the time that she received her injuries? Answers, yes. Question, and how can you say that? Answer. So based upon several factors. In examining the clothing, examining the photographs, there was heavy saturation to the clothing. You could see mostly on the back of the shoulders and neckline, and this is just the outer hoodie sweatshirt that she was wearing. In reviewing her torso, her pink sleeveless shirt, it was a gray-colored sports brassiere and a black-colored sports brassiere. I'm sorry, just a regular brassiere, and that there was no blood located on any one of these things other than the neckline or the shoulders. To the best explanation is that she's wearing it at the time. If she was dressed after the fact, we would expect to see a lot of blood transferred to the portions of the lower portions of the shirt, the sports brassiere, and especially her abdomen as she's being dressed. Question. There were sticks and limbs that were near or on the bodies. You saw the photo. The photograph showing those, correct? Answer, yes. And did you, by visiting the scene and also examining photographs, observe any indication that a large limb near Libby German's body and even smaller sticks would assist in concealing those bodies from view? Answer, yes. Question. If someone were looking from across the creek towards the direction where the girls were found, would those sticks and that large limb assist in concealing their bodies from someone looking in that direction? Miss Auger. Objection, Your Honor. Answer. It's okay. Miss Auger, Major Cicero, right? Answer, yeah, it's fine. Miss Auger, is an expert in blood splatter analysis. What someone may or may not have seen across the creek would be beyond this area of expertise. The court, Mr. Luttrell, he visited the scene, Your Honor. He looked at it from a variety of perspectives. He looked at it from the vantage point, maybe not the specific location, but from the angle of someone across the creek. He was on the crime scene side of the creek, but he looked at it from the same angle, and I believe he can give opinions. If Dr. Perlmutter can give her opinion about a crime scene, certainly Major Cicero could. Miss Auger, Your Honor, may I ask a preliminary question? The court, yes. Miss Auger, Major Cicero, you were never at the location where the bodies were found on February 13, 2017, correct? Answer, that is correct, ma'am. Miss Auger, your involvement didn't come into place until, I think, April of 2024? Answer, February 2024. I was at the scene in April, yes, ma'am. Miss Auger, okay, thank you. And so you were never in the position to see what you could or couldn't see with leaves on or off trees or anything like that, or differences in topography or anything like that in the 7 years between the time the girls were killed and the time you went to the scene? Answer, correct. Miss Auger, Your Honor, I think that this would be complete speculation. We would object. The court, anything else? Mr. Luttrell, it's not speculation at all, but I can ask further questions that may clear up the matter. The court, please do. Question, you observed dozens and dozens of photographs taken from the various locations by the crime scene tech showing from various distances the scene as it exists before the bodies were moved. Is that right? Answer, that is correct. Question, and did you see from the benefit of those photographs and from your own visit to the scene to give it that further context, did you see any advantage or any effect to cover up or make it more difficult to see the bodies from those sticks and limbs that were present? Answer, yes. Miss Auger, Your Honor. Answer, oh, Miss Auger, I just renew my objection. I'm sorry, Major. Answer, that's okay. I'm waiting for you. Miss Auger, it's his fault. The court, overruled. I'll give you some latitude. Answer, yes, my observations in April as it pertains to topography, foliage from, leaves. There were no leaves that I observed on the trees. It's my understanding and observation of the crime scene photos that there were also no leaves in February of 2017. It's Indiana. We know when we start to get leaves. My view in April and it would be logical to conclude that the views in February of 2017 and my views in April of 2024 would be similar in that I could clearly see across the river. The creek to the other side of the bank. I could see the path. I could see a path in the forest going up the hill. So in comparison to the scenes, though the topography may have been different somewhat, and the vegetation and the tree bark would be different over 7 years, I could still see across. And yes, I believe that, especially the large limb, could have been utilized to conceal especially the light-colored skin of a person who is unclothed from across the bank. Question, Major Cicero, did you take the photographs that you've shown, plus the dozens and dozens of other photographs and the reporting by the crime scene investigators, the measurements they took, and I'm talking now specifically about the blood on the tree and the conduct an experiment yourself on testing a hypothesis about how the blood was applied to the tree? Answer, yes. Question, and this is what we'll wrap up with here. Would you describe for the court what the result of your experiment was? Answer, yes, the results of my experiment. Miss Auger, Your Honor, may I ask a preliminary question? The court, yes. Miss Auger, Major Cicero, the experiment you conducted, I believe you drew some of your own blood? Answer, yes. Miss Auger, okay, you probably didn't do it. I think one of your friends. Answer, yeah, we had a law enforcement phlebotomist draw my blood, so we used my blood for the experiment. Miss Auger, and you put it in some containers? Answer, we had numerous vacutainers that put it into. Miss Auger, and you put your blood in the vacutainers. Was there any kind of anticoagulant or anything in those containers? Answer, no. Miss Auger, no, it was just your blood? Answer, it was just my blood. I made sure that there was no anticoagulant. Ms. Auger, okay. And do you know how your blood compares to the blood of Libby German and Avery Williams? Answer, I do not. Ms. Auger, in terms of coagulation or type of anything like that? Answer, no. Ms. Auger, do you take any medications, or did you were at the time that the blood was drawn? Answer, I am on medications, yes, ma'am. Ms. Auger, I'm trying to be. Answer, I understand. Ms. Auger, polite, you understand where I'm coming from with this. Answer, I take supplements, and I do have medications for hypertension. Ms. Auger, for hypertension? Answer, hypertension. Ms. Auger, hypertension, okay. And did you know how your medication for the hypertension affects the coagulation or coagulability? That's a terrible word of yours, but you know what I'm saying, right? Of your blood? Answer, it does not. Ms. Auger, okay, I have no other questions, thank you. Question, have you conducted experiments as a blood stain pattern analysis expert in the past? Answer, many. Question, and have you used your own blood or the blood of a colleague in order to do those experiments? Answer, primarily we use animal blood in experiments. I had used my blood before. We needed blood right away to do the experiments because of the time restraints, but blood, we have, through studies, we have shown that blood still reacts in a predictable manner regardless of what kind of blood it is. Blood has a certain viscosity, surface tension, cohesion, and again, it adheres to our physical laws. Whether it's my blood or blood of another, it will adhere. It will do the same. It will react the same energy and forces applied to it. Question, in your opinion, was the blood on that tree painted or applied deliberately in a fashion to create a pattern or symbol, or was it a blood pattern transfer onto the tree in a non-deliberate, non-painting fashion? Answer, based upon my observations and the results of the experiment, the best explanation for the pattern on the tree was the result of transfer stain, not from painting. Question, what type of transfer stain and what type of action with what type of object did you find was the best explanation? Answer, from our experiments, and I'll briefly explain the experiments, we used many different parts of a hand from a test subject, applied different pressure, applied different amounts of the volume of blood that was placed upon the hand of the test subject. We have found that the most, in comparison to the stain observed on the tree, that the test subject hand would be palm facing the substrate of the tree with the pinky finger in an upward position, and this area of the hand created a stain that was very consistent with what we observed on the tree at the crime scene. Question, you're pointing to the edge, not the edge of the palm, not the heel of the hand, but the edge of the palm, and you're using the left hand, is that correct? Answer, we use the left hand. Question, and in a horizontal fashion? Answer, yes, but it would be not the edge of the palm, it would be more of the meaty area of the palm, which left a similar result. Question, and how tall was the test subject that you used? Answer, she was 5 feet 4 inches, similar to the descendant. Question, similar to Libby German's height, you did that intentionally? Answer, yes. And question, did you try painting on the tree? Answer, yes, I did. Question, would you describe that briefly for us? Answer, we tried painting with fingers and a stick. Obviously, we don't know if painting was a possibility, that what was utilized to paint, but a logical conclusion is finger or stick. It's possible to paint such an upside down L. We found it very difficult because it lacked the volume each and every time that we would try to apply it. It would wipe it off your fingers, so you'd have to reapply keveral times in order to get the full pattern if this was painted. Question, a person trying to paint that blood on the tree would have to keep going back to the source of the blood. Answer, yes, some source, yes. Question, and did you also observe any sign, any shape of a finger when you tried using a finger that was discernible to you as you looked at it? Answer, as it relates to the painting, when we would use a finger or two fingers, we could see the very edge of the fingers and roundness of it. each and every time. As it pertains to a finger going back to the tree, I believe that's what you're referring to. Question, yes. Answer, it should be noted approximately an inch or inch and a half, if I remember correctly. I don't have any of my notes with me. To the right of the upside down L again was another transfer stain that appeared to be a pattern. Question, either using the photograph with the chemical applied or another photograph, would you point to the judge? Answer, yes. Question, what you're talking about? Answer, Your Honor, in State's Exhibit 34 and 35, the area that I'm referring to is to the right. Attorney Andrew Baldwin, is it okay if I see what he's... Court, yes. Answer, oh, I'm sorry, ma'am. Mr. Baldwin, Judge, is it okay if I just... Court, okay. Answer, so here's the upside down L, ma'am, sir. And this is the stain that I'm referring to right here, ma'am. And that's 34. In 35, ma'am, I'm referring to the stain that's here, that was utilized, the stain that was crystal violet was applied to. So in the stain, why did testing as well for the particular stain, and we used digits, and we found that the portion of the thumb created a stain that was similar to what we observed in the photographs of what the investigators observed in February of 2017. Question, so the thumb made the most accurate duplication of the stain on the tree that you were talking about? That's just an inch or so from this L? Answer, yes, and it was more kind of edge of the thumb, the meaty part of the thumb, and the edge not direct straight on. And we replicated this several times, and it may not have been the exact size or volume that was hard to replicate or pressure, but the shape of itself was very consistent with a certain portion of the test subject's thumb. Question, would this have been consistent, the blood stains that you see in the photographs of the tree, after examining those photographs and then conducting your experiments? Was that stain that you observed on the tree consistent with Libby German's hand and her thumb hitting that portion of the tree while covered with blood? Answer, yes. Miss O'Shea, objection, Your Honor, speculation, and that could have been anyone's hand unless he's got something from the actual body that he can compare it to. I think that's complete speculation. Miss Luttrell, he's got a DNA report, Your Honor. The court, okay, overruled. Miss O'Shea, but a DNA report, Your Honor, it doesn't have measurements of Libby German's hand. The court, I understand that, overruled. Answer, yes, it is consistent. Question, and is that the best explanation for the stain pattern that you saw on the tree that was in the upside down L portion? Answer, that's the best explanation given the data and the observation I made. Question, and if that happened, if Libby German's blood came into contact with that tree and with her hand in the form that you described, and that hand was covered with blood, would that explain all the blood that you saw, including the spatter and the downward flow on the L portion that you described? Answer, yes, the spatter. I don't believe so. That could have been caused from another action. What I could or would expect to see with the spatter, if a hand that was contained a voluminous amount of blood struck the or made contact, we may see what's referred to as sensation cast off. We didn't see that. This was it's not by any means a great distance. It's just a few, maybe an inch away where we saw the spatter. We would expect to see maybe some directionality. However, blood stains, especially spatter, is direct. There's a direct correlation between the substrate surface. The surface on the tree was furrowed, very rough, cratered, layered. This spatter may have been the result of another action that occurred, maybe simultaneously or short priorly to the contact. Again, it's just a very small area. We're talking about a surface area that's curvature of a tree. There could have been spatter out there in the forest that was not located because it's hard to see blood, especially on a forest floor. You see small stains. Mr. Luttrell, thank you. I have no further questions. And that concludes part 1 of the examination questioning of Major Patrick Cicero in the Richard Allen case. We'll be back with the cross-examination in part 2. We'll see you next time on Deb's True Crime Notebook. Don't forget to like, subscribe, ring the bell for all notifications. Leave us a comment. Please be respectful. This video and the part 2 that is to come are very sensitive information. And I just ask for you to be respectful in all ways in your comments. Thanks, and I'll see you next time.